Tonight, we will tell you a story that delves into the heart of an ancient empire, a tale of a people known to history as the Aztecs, or more accurately, the Mexica. You will learn how their entire civilization was built upon a profound understanding of the cosmos, a belief that the very sun, the source of all life, was a fragile entity that depended on their constant nourishment. You will discover why they felt compelled to offer their most precious gift to the heavens, why these acts were not merely rituals, but a fundamental part of their existence, and how this deep conviction shaped their empire, their wars, and ultimately, their destiny. This is a story of profound belief, a journey into a worldview where humanity held the immense responsibility of maintaining cosmic balance. Oh, and if you enjoy these stories that weave history into a tapestry for your rest, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. New tales for sleep arrive here regularly. All right, find a comfortable spot, let your shoulders drop, and take a deep, slow breath. Allow your body to sink into the quiet comfort of your surroundings. Our journey begins not with the rituals themselves, but with the very foundation of their world, the place and time where the Mexica people first began to shape their unique understanding of the universe. Today, I will tell you a story steeped in the dust of ancient empires, a story of the sun, sacrifice, and the relentless human will to survive, born from a profound understanding of the cosmos. This is the story of the Aztec people, more accurately known as the Mexica, who rose to dominate a vast civilization in the heart of Mesoamerica. Their journey began not with conquest, but with a prophecy and a long migration from a mythical homeland called Aztlan, a place shrouded in legend, said to be a land of herons. For generations they wandered, guided by their patron deity, Huitzilopochtli, the god of sun and war, until they reached the Valley of Mexico. There, on an island in the vast Lake Texcoco, they found the prophesied sign, an eagle perched on a nopal cactus, devouring a serpent. This was the sacred omen that marked the site of their future capital, Tenochtitlan, a city that would one day become one of the largest and most magnificent urban centers in the entire world. The Mexica's understanding of the universe was not a simple collection of beliefs. It was a grand, intricate tapestry woven from observation, myth, and a deep reverence for the forces that governed their world. They perceived existence as a series of interconnected cycles, a constant interplay of opposing yet complementary forces. Day followed night, life followed death, creation followed destruction, all bound in a delicate, necessary balance. This cosmic equilibrium was not static, it was dynamic, constantly needing to be renewed and maintained through human action. Their worldview was cyclical, not linear. They believed that time itself was a living entity, moving through vast epochs, each defined by a specific sun. According to their cosmology, the universe had already seen 4 previous suns, each ending in a cataclysmic destruction. The first sun, Nahuatl, the son of Jaguar, ended when jaguars devoured humanity. The second, Nahuatl, the son of Wind, was destroyed by mighty hurricanes that swept across the land. The third, Nahuatl, the son of Rain, concluded with a devastating rain of fire. The fourth, Nahuatl, the son of Water, submerged the world in a great flood. Each era, each sun, represented a distinct attempt at creation, a testament to the gods' enduring efforts to bring forth life, even if it meant sacrificing themselves in the process. The Mexica believed they were living under the fifth and final sun, Nahue Olin, the sun of movement or earthquake. This sun, they knew, was not eternal. Its existence, and thus the existence of all humanity, was precarious, dependent on a continuous flow of vital energy. This energy, they believed, was the very essence of life, the Chalchihuatl, or precious water, which they identified most profoundly with human blood. The gods, in their immense sacrifice to create this current world, had spilled their own blood, and it was humanity's sacred duty to reciprocate, to nourish the sun and the earth, ensuring the cosmic engine continued to turn. Without this reciprocal flow, without this constant offering of vital force, the fifth sun would inevitably falter, leading to another final apocalypse, a terrifying earthquake that would swallow all existence. This wasn't merely a fear, it was a deeply ingrained conviction, a fundamental truth that shaped every aspect of their society, from their agricultural practices to their monumental architecture, and most profoundly, to their elaborate and solemn rituals, which were designed to sustain the very heartbeat of the universe. Their entire civilization was built upon this urgent existential necessity to feed the sun, to keep the world alive. This foundational belief in cosmic cycles and the fragility of the current sun underscored their entire religious and social structure. Every sunrise was a triumph, a testament to the gods' power and humanity's efforts. Every sunset was a moment of profound anxiety, a reminder of the sun's perilous journey through the underworld, battling the forces of darkness, only to be reborn with the dawn. This rebirth, however, was never guaranteed. It had to be earned constantly through offerings, through devotion, and through the most profound act of reciprocity they knew, the offering of life itself. The very architecture of Tenochtitlan, particularly its towering pyramids, mirrored their cosmic understanding, rising towards the heavens to connect the human realm with the divine, serving as platforms for these essential rituals. Their calendar, a complex system of intertwined cycles, meticulously tracked celestial movements, reinforcing the interconnectedness of time, space, and human destiny, reminding them constantly of their place within the grand cyclical flow of the cosmos and their sacred obligation to maintain its delicate, vital balance. Every harvest, every festival, every war, every life, and every death was seen through this lens of cosmic obligation, a continuous effort to ensure the survival of the sun and the world it illuminated. For the Mexica people, the sun was not just a distant star or a source of light and warmth. It was the very heart of existence, a living, demanding deity named Tonatiuh, whose arduous journey across the sky each day was an epic, perilous struggle against the insidious forces of darkness. Their understanding of time and the cosmos was profoundly cyclical, built upon a meticulous observation of creation and an equally profound recognition of destruction. They held a deep-seated belief that the universe had been forged and then obliterated 4 times before their current epoch, each preceding era governed by a distinct sun, and each inevitably culminating in a cataclysm of unimaginable scale. The first sun, which they called Nahue Ocelotl, the jaguar sun, met its demise when monstrous jaguars embodying primal ferocity descended upon the earth and devoured the colossal giants who then populated the world. Following this, the second sun, known as Nahue Ehecatl, the wind sun was violently swept away, its existence extinguished by a devastating tempest of hurricanes, leaving behind only swirling chaos. The third, Nahuatl, the rain sun, was not drowned, but consumed, utterly destroyed by an unending, scorching rain of fire, transforming the world into an inferno. And finally, the fourth sun, Nahuatl, the water sun, tragically succumbed to a great, all-encompassing flood and deluge that submerged all life and brought an end to that epoch. You see, for the Aztecs, these were far more than ancient cautionary myths. They were deeply ingrained existential narratives, serving as potent prophecies and stark warnings of the catastrophic potential that constantly loomed over their own existence. The current era, the specific age in which they lived and thrived, was the sacred fifth sun, revered as Nahuatl, a name that translated meaningfully as the sun of movement, or, more ominously, the earthquake sun. This particular sun, they believed with unwavering conviction, possessed a truly unique and profoundly significant origin. It had been brought into being only through the ultimate selfless sacrifice of the mighty gods themselves. In the foundational myths of their cosmology, the divine beings had converged in a primordial darkness at Teotihuacan, a monumental, awe-inspiring city of colossal pyramids and ancient mysteries that had been constructed by civilizations long predating the Aztecs. There, two courageous deities, Nanahuatl, the humble and disease-ridden god, and Tenochtitlan, the proud and wealthy one, bravely embraced their destiny, sacrificing themselves by valiantly leaping into a divine, purifying fire. From their magnificent act of self-immolation, the fifth sun was gloriously born, radiant and powerful. Yet paradoxically, it was born weak, requiring a continuous, unceasing flow of sustenance to maintain its vibrant existence. This was the absolutely critical, non-negotiable point for the Mexica people, the central pillar of their entire worldview. They were not merely engaging in acts of reverence towards a distant, abstract deity. They were actively and perpetually engaged in maintaining the very fabric of reality, preventing its unraveling. The sun, their revered Tonatiuh, demanded Chalchihuatl, a profound Nahuatl term that embodied the concept of precious water. This precious water was not merely liquid. It was understood as the most potent, life-sustaining form of vital energy, the very essence of existence. And within their intricate cosmological framework, the most concentrated, most potent form of this precious water was undeniably human blood, specifically the vibrant, courageous blood of valiant warriors captured in battle. Each glorious sunrise, therefore, was perceived not just as a natural phenomenon, but as a profound daily miracle, an irrefutable testament to the immense power of Tonatiuh. But simultaneously, it served as a stark, ever-present reminder of its inherent fragility. Without this constant life-sustaining nourishment, they believed the sun would inevitably falter. Its brilliant light would gradually diminish into an eternal twilight, and it would ultimately perish, just as the preceding four suns had tragically succumbed to their own ends. This cataclysmic event would, without question, plunge the entire world into an abyss of eternal darkness, an unending night, inexorably leading to a final, devastating cosmic earthquake that would violently swallow all of humanity, erasing every trace of their existence. Therefore, the daily, meticulous ritual of feeding the sun was not, in their profound spiritual understanding, an act of arbitrary cruelty or uncivilized barbarism. On the contrary, it was perceived as the absolute highest form of devotion, a sacred, non-negotiable duty, and an absolute existential necessity for the very survival of the entire world. They viewed themselves as the appointed custodians of cosmic order, burdened with the immense, sacred task of ensuring the perpetual continuation of life itself for all beings. The revered priests, the formidable warriors, and indeed every single person within the vast Mexica Empire understood this profound life or death responsibility with unwavering clarity. Their entire complex society, from its grandest temples to its humblest homes, was meticulously structured and organized around this fundamental central tenet. The sun must be fed without fail. The sun must move ceaselessly. The sun must live eternally. And so the elaborate rituals, which you will soon learn more about in greater detail, were not merely grand ceremonies or symbolic gestures. They were, in essence, an ongoing, desperate, and profoundly spiritual act of cosmic preservation, a monumental and heartfelt effort to valiantly hold back the relentless, inevitable encroachment of eternal darkness. It was a ceaseless cycle of life, death, and rebirth, where the precious, fragile life of humanity depended intrinsically on the ritualized death of a select few, all in order to ensure the perpetual continuation of the many, all under the unwavering, watchful, and deeply demanding gaze of Tenochtitlan, the magnificent and precarious fifth sun. This profound conviction that the sun required constant vital nourishment stemmed from an even deeper, foundational belief embedded in the very core of Mexica cosmology. They understood existence not as a given, a simple fact, but as a tremendous, sacred gift, born of immense, unimaginable sacrifice. Their intricate creation myths, passed down through generations of oral tradition and recorded in pictographic codices, spoke of powerful deities, ancient beings whose very essence, their divine vitality, had been deliberately expended to bring forth the world you now know and the humanity that populates it. It was a story of ultimate self-immolation for the greater good, an act that resonated throughout their entire world view. Consider the tale of the fifth sun, the current era in which they believed themselves to live. Before this sun, 4 previous suns had risen and fallen, each ending in a cataclysmic destruction, by jaguars, by wind, by fiery rain, by a great flood. These destructions served as stark, terrifying reminders of the cosmos' inherent fragility and cyclical nature. To bring forth the fifth sun, the one that illuminated their world and warmed their fertile lands, 2 gods, Nanahuatl and Tenochtitlan, had to sacrifice themselves by leaping into a raging bonfire at Teotihuacan, the ancient city of the gods. Though Tenochtitlan hesitated, gripped by fear, Nanahuatl, the humble pustule-covered deity, bravely threw himself into the flames first, transforming into the brilliant sun Tonatiuh. Tenochtitlan, following with less courage, became the moon. This was not a passive, effortless creation. It was an active, painful, deliberate act of divine self-offering, a literal burning up of divine life force to ignite the very source of light and warmth that sustained all life. This act of divine self-sacrifice established an unbreakable, eternal pact, a colossal, cosmic debt. Humanity, having been given the gift of life, the fertile earth, and the nurturing light of the sun, was perpetually, fundamentally indebted to these benevolent yet demanding deities. This was not a debt that could be paid with gold or mere ritualistic praise. In their profound understanding, this sacred debt could only be repaid through a return of that same vital energy, that same precious life force which had been expended to create them. It was a matter of cosmic reciprocity, a continuous, dynamic cycle of giving and receiving that maintained the delicate, precarious balance of the universe. The most potent form of repayment, the most precious offering imaginable, was what the Aztecs reverently called Chalchihuatl. This term, Chalchihuatl, literally translates to precious water, but it encompassed a far more profound and expansive symbolic concept than mere liquid. It represented the very essence of vital energy, the animating life force that flowed through all living things, from the smallest insect to the grandest mountain. While Chalchihuatl could indeed refer to pure, pristine water, especially from sacred springs or collected as dew, or the milky sap of certain revered plants, or even the highly valued green jade, which they considered petrified water and a profound symbol of life. Its most concentrated, most powerful, and most revered manifestation was human blood. To the Mexica, blood was the ultimate precious water, because it contained the very breath of life, the intangible yet undeniable essence of the soul, of consciousness. It was seen as a direct conduit to the divine, a liquid manifestation of the cosmic energy that had been poured out by the gods at creation. When a human, particularly a courageous warrior captured in battle, offered their blood, they were not merely dying. They were, in their worldview, participating in a sacred, essential act of cosmic renewal. They were returning a portion of that divine essence, that Chalchihuatl, directly to the gods, nourishing them, strengthening them, and thus perpetuating the intricate, fragile cycles of creation and destruction. This act was never viewed as an arbitrary cruelty or a senseless act of violence. Instead, it was a solemn, sacred duty, a necessary reciprocal action, an existential imperative to maintain the delicate balance of the cosmos, ensuring its continuity. Without this continuous flow of Chalchihuatl, this constant replenishment of divine energy, the gods would, they believed, weaken and eventually perish. The sun, Tonatiuh, would falter in its daily journey across the sky, its light diminishing until it plunged the world into eternal darkness, just as the previous 4 suns had. The earth would cease to be fertile, crops would wither, and devastating natural disasters, earthquakes, famines, floods, would inevitably consume their world. Therefore, every drop of precious water offered, particularly the concept of repayment, this profound cosmic debt, manifested in a variety of sacrificial practices, some of which were deeply ancient, predating the rise of the Mexica people themselves. These were not singular, isolated acts, but a continuous, evolving dialogue with the divine, a series of offerings intended to feed the universe. You must understand that for the Aztecs, sacrifice was not merely a ritual, it was a fundamental aspect of their daily existence, woven into the very fabric of their society and belief system, a way to participate actively in the ongoing creation and maintenance of the cosmos. One of the most widespread and personal forms of sacrifice was self-bloodletting. This practice involved individuals, from the highest priests and rulers down to common citizens, intentionally drawing a small amount of their own blood. They used sharp obsidian blades, stingray spines, or even agave thorns to pierce soft tissues, most commonly the earlobes, the tongue, or even more private parts of the body. The drops of blood, considered a potent form of calchihuatl, would often be collected on strips of paper or cotton and then ceremonially burned. The smoke, rising to the heavens, symbolized the ascent of this precious offering to the gods. This act was a deeply personal expression of piety and devotion, a direct contribution of one's own vital essence to the divine sustenance. It was believed that through this self-inflicted pain and offering of personal life force, humanity demonstrated its gratitude and commitment to the gods who had sacrificed so much for creation. The act of bloodletting was often performed during important ceremonies, at the dedication of temples, or in moments of personal crisis, reinforcing the bond between the individual and the sacred. Beyond personal bloodletting, offerings of animals were a common and ancient form of sacrifice across Mesoamerica. Various creatures, each holding symbolic significance, were dedicated to the gods. Birds, especially quails, were frequently offered, their small hearts perhaps symbolizing the flutter of life itself. Rabbits, dogs, and even more powerful animals like jaguars or pumas, when available, were also sacrificed. These animal offerings were seen as a less potent, yet still valuable form of sustenance for the deities, a way to provide nourishment without the ultimate human cost. Often, the animals would be ritually killed, their hearts extracted, or their bodies burned in sacred fires. The smoke and the essence of the animal were believed to ascend to the divine realms, providing the necessary energy. These sacrifices often accompanied agricultural rituals, hunts, or seasonal festivals, ensuring the bounty of the land and the success of human endeavors. The burning of precious materials constituted another significant category of offerings. Incense, particularly copal, a fragrant tree resin, was burned in vast quantities during ceremonies. The thick, sweet-smelling smoke that billowed from censers and altars was considered a direct pathway for human prayers and offerings to reach the gods. Along with copal, finely crafted objects made of paper, intricately woven textiles, bundles of precious quetzal feathers, and even prepared foods were placed on pyres and consumed by fire. The transformation of these tangible objects into smoke and ash was a symbolic act of transcendence, a conversion of earthly wealth and human artistry into divine sustenance. These offerings reflected the Aztec belief that the gods appreciated beauty, craftsmanship, and the dedication of human labor. They were offerings of wealth, of artistic skill, and of the very essence of human creativity, all dedicated to the cosmic balance. These practices, from the intimate act of self-bloodletting to the grand burning of rich offerings, were deeply embedded in the cultural memory of the Mexica, inherited from generations of Mesoamerican peoples who had similarly sought to appease and nourish their deities. They demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of reciprocal relationships with the divine, where every gift from the gods demanded a return, ensuring the continuity of the world. These forms of sacrifice were not seen as acts of cruelty, but as solemn, necessary duties, integral to maintaining the delicate cosmic order. They laid the groundwork for the increasingly elaborate and intense rituals that would come to define the Aztec Empire, particularly as their primary deity demanded more profound forms of Chalchihuatl. The foundational belief remained constant. Life flowed from sacrifice, and life could only be truly sustained through continuous, dedicated offering. Each plume of smoke, each drop of blood, each beating heart offered was a testament to their unwavering commitment to the sun and the universe it sustained. As the Mexica people, who would become the dominant force in Mesoamerica, forged their empire, the role of sacrifice became ever more pronounced, intricately woven into the very fabric of their burgeoning power. Their journey from humble origins, migrating from Aztlan, a mythical ancestral home, to establishing their magnificent capital, Tenochtitlan, on an island in Lake Texcoco, was guided by their patron deity, Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird left. He was the formidable god of war, sun, and sacrifice, a deity whose very essence was tied to cosmic struggle and triumph. Huitzilopochtli was born fully armed from his mother Coatlicue, the serpent skirt, symbolizing the earth and its generative power. His birth was itself a dramatic cosmic battle where he bravely vanquished his numerous siblings, the Senson Huitznahua, the 400 Southerners, and his powerful sister, Coyolxauhqui, the Golden Bells, who had maliciously conspired against their revered mother. This profound origin story, steeped in violent cosmic conflict and ultimate victory, profoundly cemented Huitzilopochtli's image as a powerful, demanding deity who required constant vital nourishment to sustain his daily arduous struggle against the encroaching forces of darkness and ensure the sun's continued life-giving journey across the vast azure sky. For the Mexica, Huitzilopochtli was the vibrant embodiment of the sun at its fiery zenith, a relentless warrior who fought tirelessly to bring forth each new day. Their deep cosmological understanding dictated that the sun, their current fifth sun, was not a static, unchanging entity, but a living, breathing, and fundamentally energetic force that constantly consumed vital force. This crucial energy, this sacred precious water known as Chalchihuatl, was believed to be most potent and effective when it flowed from the brave hearts of valiant warriors honorably captured in the heat of battle. Thus, the empire's relentless military expansion was not merely for mundane territorial gain or the collection of material tribute. It was, at its very core, a profound sacred imperative, a divine mission to acquire the most valuable and life-sustaining offerings for their demanding, omnipresent God. Every military campaign, every fierce battle was therefore fundamentally conceived as a sacred hunt for these human flowers, as the precious captives were sometimes poetically called. The primary strategic goal was often not to annihilate the enemy forces, but rather to skillfully capture them alive, preserving their vitality for the solemn, truly indispensable ritual. The Aztec military, renowned for its highly organized structure and stringent discipline, meticulously developed sophisticated strategies not just for outright conquest, but specifically for the efficient and prolific acquisition of these invaluable prisoners. Their elite warriors, particularly the esteemed orders like the Jaguar and Eagle Knights, trained with rigorous intensity, mastering not only advanced combat techniques, but also the intricate art of taking numerous captives. These formidable warriors, resplendent in their elaborate featherwork and expertly wielding their devastating obsidian-edged macuahuitl, were deeply revered throughout the empire for their exceptional prowess, in securing these vital, life-sustaining offerings. The powerful Triple Alliance, a strategic pact formed between the dominant city-states of Tenochtitlan, Texcoco, and Tlacopan, solidified the Mexica's regional dominance and meticulously provided the organizational framework for their widespread military endeavors. This formidable alliance facilitated large-scale, meticulously coordinated campaigns that brought vast numbers of war captives back to the bustling heart of the empire, Tenochtitlan. The captives often marched for many arduous days or even weeks across diverse terrains, arrived in the magnificent, sprawling capital, a city of intricate canals, floating gardens, and awe-inspiring grand temples, acutely aware of their ultimate preordained fate. Their arrival was not perceived as a moment of shame or defeat, but, for the Aztecs, a solemn sacred fulfillment of cosmic duty, an essential contribution to the universe's balance. The awe-inspiring sight of these solemn processions moving deliberately through the vibrant city streets was a powerful visual testament to the empire's immense strength and its unwavering, profound commitment to its revered gods. The insatiable divine demand of Huitzilopochtli, therefore, became the paramount driving force behind much of the Aztec foreign policy and their intricate military strategy. It fundamentally transformed warfare from a purely political or economic act into a profound existential religious sacrament. The battlefield itself was considered a deeply sacred space, a Xiuhcoacalli, metaphorically a house of fire serpents, where the precious blood of warriors, both Aztec and enemy, mingled upon the earth, believed to feed the very soil and ultimately ascend to majestically nourish the sun. The deliberate acquisition of war captives was thus seen not as an act of arbitrary cruelty, but as a crucial, necessary, and even deeply compassionate act, fundamentally ensuring the continuation of life for all of humanity. Without this constant vital flow of precious water, they believed with unshakable conviction the sun would inevitably falter, the world would inexorably plunge into eternal suffocating darkness, and all life would tragically cease to exist. This profound belief was not a mere simple superstition. It was the unyielding bedrock of their entire existence, a solemn collective responsibility passed down meticulously through countless generations. The very survival of their meticulously ordered cosmos fundamentally depended upon their unwavering dedication to Huitzilopochtli and the perpetual, essential act of sacrifice, crucial for cosmic survival. This profound and unyielding religious imperative, the constant need for the vital essence of life to sustain their most revered deity, led the Mexica to develop a unique and deeply ritualized form of warfare known as the Flowery Wars, or in their own eloquent Nahuatl tongue, Xochiaoyotl. The Flowery Wars name itself symbolized the preciousness of shed blood, likened to dew on flowers, a vital and sacred offering. These were not conflicts waged for territorial expansion, nor were they campaigns driven by a desire for conquest or the acquisition of new lands. Instead, their primary, indeed their sole purpose, was the capture of warriors to be offered as sacrifices to the sun god Huitzilopochtli and other powerful deities within their pantheon. The concept behind the Flowery Wars was both ingenious and terrifyingly pragmatic from the Aztec perspective. They were, in essence, prearranged battles, almost like sacred duels on a grand scale, agreed upon by the Aztec Triple Alliance, composed of the powerful city-states of Tenochtitlan, Texcoco, and Tlacopan. and specific rival city-states, most notably Tlaxcala, Cholula, and Huexotzingo. These were not enemies in the conventional sense, as they often shared cultural ties and even traded. However, they served a vital role in the cosmic economy of the Aztecs. They were the designated providers of the precious water that the sun demanded. The very act of engagement was infused with religious meaning, a solemn agreement to participate in a ritual designed to sustain the universe. The Xochiaoyotl were distinct from conventional warfare in several critical aspects. Unlike typical military campaigns where the goal was to inflict maximum casualties and seize territory, the objective in a flowery war was to capture opponents alive. To kill an enemy on the battlefield, while certainly a possibility, was less prestigious than to capture them. A warrior's prowess was measured not by the number of foes he slew, but by the number of captives he brought back to Tenochtitlan for the altars. This meant that the battles themselves were often intense, hand-to-hand engagements, where skill in grappling and subduing an opponent was paramount. The air, one might imagine, would have been filled not just with the sharp, resonant clash of obsidian blades against hardened shields, but with the grunts of desperate struggle, the shouts of capture, and the heavy, ragged breathing of exhausted combatants under the Mesoamerican sun. These ritualized conflicts were often initiated during times of peace, or at least during periods when no major territorial wars were being fought. Messengers, often high-ranking nobles, would be sent between the involved parties, proposing a flowery war, setting a specific date, and designating a pre-agreed battleground. It was a formal invitation to a sacred, albeit deadly, contest, understood by all participants as a necessary part of the cosmic order. The chosen fields were often open plains, allowing for clear lines of engagement and minimizing collateral damage to civilian populations or agricultural lands. The warriors themselves prepared meticulously, not only with rigorous physical training to hone their combat skills, but also with ritual fasting and fervent prayers, understanding that they were participating in an act of profound religious significance that transcended mere human conflict. Their ceremonial armor, though protective, often featured vibrant feathers, intricate embroidery, and polished stones, reflecting the flowery aspect of these wars, a macabre beauty in the ritualized shedding of precious water for the gods. The captured warriors, known as Mammilton, were treated with a complex mix of reverence and dread. They were not immediately executed. Instead, they were often honored for their bravery, sometimes even allowed to participate in ceremonial dances or feasts before their final, ultimate sacrifice. This treatment underscored the Aztec belief that the quality of the offering was as important as the act itself. A brave warrior, captured honorably in a sacred contest, represented the purest form of Chalchihuatl, the most potent nourishment for the insatiable gods. The psychological weight of this fate, for both captor and captive, would have been immense, a constant backdrop to their daily lives. The flowery wars served multiple purposes beyond the immediate provision of sacrificial victims. They also acted as essential training grounds for young Aztec warriors, allowing them to gain invaluable experience in combat and prove their valor and skill without the full-scale devastation of conventional warfare. Furthermore, they served as a constant, stark reminder of Aztec power and religious dominance to their neighbors, reinforcing the cosmic order they believed themselves destined to uphold. The cycle of these wars was thus integral to the very fabric of Aztec society and their understanding of their place in the universe. They were a testament to the profound belief that the sun, their source of life and warmth, needed constant sustenance, and that humanity, in its highest form, existed to provide that essential energy. Without the Tenochtitlan, the Aztecs feared the fifth sun would falter, the world would plunge into an eternal cold darkness, and all life would cease to exist. Their survival, as they understood it, literally depended on the steady flow of precious water obtained through these unique and solemn battles. The very air of Tenochtitlan seemed to vibrate with this underlying urgency, a silent, constant hum of cosmic responsibility that permeated every aspect of their lives, from the grandest temple rituals to the quietest, most personal prayers for the dawn. The fate of their world, they believed, rested on their ability to fulfill this sacred debt, day after day, year after year, through the deliberate, ritualized shedding of vital energy. This was not merely a belief. It was the bedrock of their empire, shaping their alliances, their conflicts, and their ultimate destiny. The echoes of these ritualized struggles resonated deeply within the collective consciousness of the Mexica, reinforcing their unique worldview and purpose. With the crucial need for a steady supply of captives, acquired through these ritualized conflicts, the focus of the empire naturally turned to the Sacred Heart, where these profound offerings would be presented. The very core of the Aztec world, its vibrant and meticulously planned capital, was the magnificent city of Tenochtitlan, an extraordinary urban marvel built upon an island amidst the vast expanse of Lake Texcoco, and at the absolute undisputed center of Tenochtitlan, rising with imposing grandeur above every other structure, stood the Templo Mayor, known to them as Teocalli, the Great Temple. This colossal edifice was far more than mere architecture. It was a living embodiment of the Aztec cosmos, a sacred mountain meticulously constructed by human hands, constantly expanding and evolving, mirroring the growth and dynamic power of their empire itself. Its presence dominated the skyline, a constant reminder of the God's power and humanity's sacred obligations. The Templo Mayor possessed a unique and deeply symbolic design, manifesting as a double pyramid, each of its two towering summits crowned by a distinct yet equally vital shrine. On the northern side, facing the direction from which the life-giving rains often arrived, stood the shrine of Tlaloc, the venerable Mesoamerican god of rain, water, and agricultural fertility. His sacred space was distinguished by vibrant blue and white colors, reflecting the essential elements of water and cloud, symbolizing the vital sustenance for their crops and the prosperity of their people. This side of the temple invoked the gentle, nurturing power of the natural world. In stark contrast, on the southern side, bathed in the direct rays of the morning sun as it ascended, was the shrine of Huitzilopochtli, the formidable Mexica patron god of war, fire, and the sun itself. His temple blazed with a vivid red, symbolizing the precious blood and the searing heat of battle, representing the raw, dynamic energy required to fuel the cosmos. This duality and dedication was not accidental. It underscored the fundamental Aztec understanding of existence. The world was a delicate interplay, a continuous negotiation between the sun's fiery strength, demanding human energy and the life-giving water, essential for earthly abundance. Both forces, equally crucial for survival, were inherently dependent on reciprocal human offerings. The construction of the Templo Mayor was a testament to the enduring commitment and spiritual ambition of the Aztec people, a continuous, generational undertaking that spanned centuries. Each successive Aztec emperor, upon assuming the mantle of leadership, would initiate a new, larger layer of construction, meticulously encasing the previous one, much like the growth rings of an ancient tree. This methodical process of superimposition meant that the temple steadily grew in both physical size and symbolic grandeur with every reign, powerfully reflecting the expanding political dominion and spiritual prestige of the Mexica Empire. It was, in essence, a tangible, monumental record of their history, a layered chronicle with 7 major discernible phases of construction alongside numerous smaller additions and renovations. Each layer told a story of conquest, of devout reverence, and of an unyielding cosmic obligation. As you ascended its increasingly steep, precisely cut stone stairs, you were not merely climbing a physical structure, you were embarking on a sacred journey, a ritual ascent up a fabricated mountain, a deliberate path connecting the tangible earthly realm to the intangible divine spheres. From its awe-inspiring summit, a breathtaking vista of the entire city of Tenochtitlan unfolded below, a sprawling, meticulously organized metropolis crisscrossed by a network of shimmering canals, surrounded by the reflective waters of Lake Texcoco, with the majestic, often snow-capped volcanoes of the Valley of Mexico standing as silent, ancient sentinels in the hazy distance. The air at the very top, though open to the expansive sky, carried a profound, almost palpable solemnity, a distinct sense of immense purpose and unparalleled sanctity. It was upon this hallowed summit of the Templo Mayor, before the twin shrines of Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc, that the most significant and deeply vital sun rituals were meticulously performed. This towering platform served as the primary, unyielding stage for the acts of human sacrifice, which were never viewed as simple acts of brutality or arbitrary cruelty. Instead, they were understood and executed as the highest form of sacred duty, a direct and essential interaction with the gods themselves, a profound act of cosmic sustenance. The captives, those warriors acquired through the very specific ritualized conflicts known as the Flowery Wars, were brought here to this elevated sacred space to become the ultimate, most potent offering. Their Chalchihuatl, their precious life-giving blood, was believed to be the vital nourishment that ensured the sun's continuous daily journey across the sky, and by extension, the world's very survival. The entire city of Tenochtitlan would bear solemn witness to these grand ceremonies, from the vast multitudes of common citizens gathered in the sprawling plaza below, to the elite ranks of priests and nobility positioned on the surrounding terraces. Every intricate aspect of the temple, from its precise astronomical orientation to its detailed iconography and the very flow of its ceremonial spaces, was meticulously designed to reinforce the fundamental Aztec worldview, a universe in perpetual dynamic motion, sustained by an intricate reciprocal cycle of sacrifice between the powerful gods and their human creations. The Templo Mayor, therefore, stood not merely as a monument, but as the unyielding, pulsating axis of this cosmic drama, eternally ensuring that the indispensable light of the sun would always return, day after day, cycle after cycle, warding off the encroaching darkness and the terrifying prospect of universal collapse. Within the towering structure of the Templo Mayor, the magnificent central temple of the Aztec capital Tenochtitlan, the heart of the empire beat with a rhythm both sacred and stark. Here, under the vast Mesoamerican sky, the most profound of the sun rituals unfolded, acts considered by the Mexica people to be the very bedrock of existence. You must understand that for the Aztecs, these ceremonies were not spectacles of malice or cruelty, but rather solemn, indispensable duties, a sacred exchange with the divine, crucial for maintaining the delicate cosmic balance and preventing the ultimate darkness. The timing of these rituals was often meticulously aligned with astronomical events, with significant festivals, or with the needs of the empire. Before dawn, the air around the Templo Mayor would thicken with anticipation, the only sounds being the distant murmur of the gathered populace and the low rhythmic chanting of the priests. The temple platform itself, a monumental edifice of stone, would become the stage for this profound ultimate offering. The air might carry the faint scent of copal incense, a resin burned in purification rituals, mingling with the metallic tang that often lingered in the sacred precincts. The priests, known as tlamakasque, meaning givers of things or those who serve, were very central to every aspect of the ceremony. They were figures of immense spiritual authority, their bodies often painted black, symbolizing their dedication to the gods and their separation from the mundane world. Their long, matted hair, never cut, was believed to be stiff with the dried blood of previous offerings, a physical manifestation of their continuous service. Each priest, trained from a young age in rigorous spiritual and physical disciplines, understood their role as intermediaries between the human and divine realms, tasked with the grave responsibility of ensuring the sun's daily journey. They moved with a deliberate, almost trance-like calm, their movements precise and practiced, reflecting centuries of tradition. The sacrificial victims, predominantly war captives, were typically led up the steep, worn steps of the Templo Mayor. These individuals, often brave warriors from rival city-states captured in battle or during the specialized flowery wars, Xochiaoyotl, were not always unwilling participants. Some believed that by offering their lives, they too became part of the sacred cycle, their essence contributing directly to the sustenance of the cosmos. Their journey up the steps was a solemn procession, often accompanied by the haunting sounds of conch shells and flutes, their final steps illuminated by the first rays of the rising sun or the flickering light of torches during night rituals. Upon reaching the summit, the victim would be led to the Tecatli, the sacrificial stone, which stood prominently on the temple platform. This stone, often carved with intricate designs, was symbolically the heart of the world, the nexus where human and divine energies converged. 4 priests would then grasp the victim's limbs, holding them firmly in place, while a 5th priest, the Tlacatli or executioner, would stretch the victim's chest taut over the curved surface of the stone, positioning the body optimally for the ritual. The air would be heavy with the unspoken gravity of the moment, a collective breath held by those gathered below. The high priest, often clad in the ceremonial garments of Huitzilopochtli, would then step forward, clutching a meticulously sharpened flint or obsidian knife. This sacred implement, known as Itzli, was not merely a tool, but a conduit for divine power, its edge capable of piercing the veil between worlds. With a swift, precise motion, the priest would make an incision beneath the rib cage, severing the major arteries and veins. The intention was not to cause prolonged suffering, but to extract the heart as quickly as possible, for it was believed that the heart, Tona, contained the vital essence, the fiery spiritual energy, the precious water, or Chalchihuatl, which was the most potent nourishment for the sun god. As the heart, still warm and pulsing, was carefully extracted, it would be immediately lifted towards the sun, offered as a direct tribute to Huitzilopochtli. This was the pinnacle of the ritual, the moment when humanity's debt to the gods was repaid, when the cosmic engine was refueled. The blood, rich with this vital energy, would often be collected in sacred vessels or allowed to flow into designated channels, further sanctifying the temple and nourishing the earth. The body of the sacrificed, now devoid of its Tona, would then be respectfully but unceremoniously rolled down the steep pyramid steps, signifying its return to the earth, its purpose fulfilled. This act, though shocking to outside observers, was an integral part of the cycle, a return of the physical vessel to the world from which it came. For the Aztecs, every drop of blood, every beat of the offered heart, was a conscious act of profound responsibility. They believed that without this continuous flow of Chalchihuatl, the sun, Tonatiuh, would weaken, falter, and eventually cease its journey across the sky. The world, in their cosmological understanding, would then plunge into eternal darkness, marked by earthquakes, famine, and the monstrous Tzitzimime, skeletal star demons, descending to devour humanity. Thus, the rituals performed on the Templo Mayor were not merely religious ceremonies. They were a societal imperative, a collective prayer embodied in action, a desperate and deeply held conviction that their very survival depended on these profound acts of giving. The solemn atmosphere, the disciplined priests, the brave victims, all were participants in a cosmic drama, ensuring that the sun would rise again, that the maize would grow, and that the world would continue for another day. You can imagine the immense pressure, the weight of responsibility that rested upon the shoulders of the Aztec people, compelling them to undertake such severe measures to maintain what they perceived as the fragile balance of their universe. This was their way of life, their sacred duty, understood and accepted by all as the price of existence. For the Mexica people, these sun rituals were far more than mere acts of devotion. They were an absolute existential necessity, a fundamental pillar upon which their entire world rested. Imagine living in a universe where the very existence of the sun, the source of all life and warmth, depended entirely on your collective effort, on the willingness to provide the most precious offering. This was the deeply held conviction that permeated every aspect of Aztec society, from the grandest temples to the smallest family altars. They believed that the fifth sun, the era in which they lived, was inherently fragile, born from the sacrifices of earlier deities and therefore requiring constant reciprocation. Previous suns, according to their ancient histories, had perished, swallowed by darkness and cataclysms, worlds obliterated by earthquakes, swept away by violent winds, submerged by vast floods, or consumed by raging fire. To prevent their own world, their beloved Anahuac, from meeting a similar terrifying fate, the sun god Huitzilopochtli, whose formidable energy guided the sun across the sky each day, needed perpetual, vigorous sustenance. This sustenance was the Chalchihuatl, the precious water of human blood and hearts, considered the most potent, most vital form of life force imaginable. Without this irreplaceable, crucial offering, the sun would inevitably weaken, its light dimming, its warmth fading, until it finally faltered and ceased its journey, plunging the entire world into eternal, suffocating night and unimaginable chaos. The very thought of such an end, of a world devoid of light and life, was a profound, chilling fear that motivated their every ritual. This profound cosmic belief extended beyond the grand, abstract scale of cosmic order. It touched the most intimate details of their daily lives, their agricultural cycles, and their very survival. The fertility of their fields, the abundance of maize, beans, squash, and chili peppers that sustained their vast and growing population, was understood to be directly linked to the sun's unwavering strength and the god's benevolent favor. A prolonged drought, an unexpected devastating flood, or a violent ground-shaking earthquake was not simply a natural disaster. It was interpreted as a clear, unmistakable sign of divine displeasure, a dire warning that the offerings had been insufficient, or that the delicate cosmic balance was dangerously faltering. The revered priests, with their profound inherited understanding of the complex calendrical cycles, their meticulous astronomical observations, and their deep knowledge of ancient prophecies, interpreted these ominous events for the common people, reinforcing the urgent, inescapable necessity of the rituals. Every vibrant sunrise, every bountiful harvest, every day of relative peace and prosperity in their sprawling city of Tenochtitlan was seen as a powerful, tangible testament to the efficacy of their sacrifices, a renewed, sacred affirmation of their solemn pact with the divine forces that governed existence. Thus, every single member of society, from the highest Tlatoani, the revered emperor who stood as the intermediary between humanity and the gods, down to the humblest Mquehualtan, the commoner who toiled in the fields or traded in the bustling markets, understood their collective and individual responsibility in this grand cosmic drama. Even the valiant warriors who faced death on the battlefield, or the stoic captives destined for the sacrificial altar, often viewed their impending role as a profound contribution to this overarching cosmic purpose. For a warrior to be captured and offered was not necessarily a mark of dishonor. It could be seen as a courageous fulfillment of a greater destiny, a final, incredibly powerful act that served the collective good, ensuring the continuation of the world for their entire people. The solemnity of the ceremonies at the Templo Mayor, the precise ritualized movements of the robed priests, the haunting rhythmic chanting that echoed across the plaza, and the deep, resonant beat of the massive drums that pulsed like a cosmic heart, all contributed to an overwhelming atmosphere where the sacred and the immediate merged into one inescapable reality. You could almost feel the tangible weight of this cosmic responsibility, the immense and daunting burden of actively keeping the world alive, pushing back the darkness with every beat of a drum, every drop of blood. The sharp, evocative smell of copal incense, thick and sweet, rising in plumes toward the heavens, mingled inextricably with the coppery metallic scent of fresh blood, creating a visceral, unforgettable experience that profoundly underscored the absolute gravity of their purpose. They were not merely performing a ritual out of blind faith. They were actively participating in the ongoing creation and preservation of time itself, continuously pushing back against the encroaching darkness that always threatened the very edges of their ordered universe. This deep, the year was 1519. Far across the vast ocean, a new force was stirring, one that would irrevocably alter the fate of the Mexica people and their profound relationship with the sun. From the eastern horizon, ships began to appear, bearing men unlike any the Aztecs had ever seen. They were the Spanish conquistadors, led by Hernan Cortes, a determined and ambitious explorer driven by faith, gold, and glory. When these Europeans first set foot on Mesoamerican soil, they were met with a civilization of immense sophistication, intricate social structures, and awe-inspiring architectural marvels. Tenochtitlan, the magnificent island capital, with its towering Templo Mayor, stunned them with its grandeur and vibrant life. Yet, beneath this veneer of wonder, a deep and irreconcilable chasm in worldview began to open, one that would prove fatal for the Aztec Empire. The Spanish, devout Catholics, arrived with a worldview steeped in the tenets of Christianity, where human life was sacred and sacrifice was understood through the singular, ultimate act of Christ on the cross. To them, the Aztec sun rituals, particularly the practice of human sacrifice, were not merely alien. They were an abomination, a horrific manifestation of paganism and devil worship. The very sight of the altars stained with blood, the rows of skulls displayed on the Tzompontli, the skull rack, and the accounts of hearts being offered to the sun god Huitzilopochtli filled them with profound revulsion and a sense of righteous indignation. They perceived these acts as proof that the Aztecs were barbaric, enslaved by demonic forces, and desperately in need of salvation. This perception quickly transformed into a powerful moral and religious justification for their conquest. For Cortes and his men, conquering the Aztec Empire was no longer simply a quest for riches. It became a holy crusade. They believed they were divinely appointed to rescue souls from eternal damnation, to dismantle a system they viewed as inherently evil, and to replace the Aztec gods with the singular Christian God. This fervent conviction fueled their resolve, allowing them to overlook the immense numerical superiority of the native armies and to endure incredible hardships. The Templo Mayor, the very heart of Aztec spiritual life, became for the Spanish a symbol of everything they sought to destroy. They saw it not as a sacred mountain feeding the cosmos, but as a temple of idolatry, demanding cleansing and conversion. This fundamental clash of ideologies played a crucial role in the downfall of the Aztec Empire. The Spanish, by portraying the Aztecs as cruel idolaters, found willing allies among the various indigenous groups who had been subjugated by the Triple Alliance. Many of these tributary states, tired of Aztec dominance and the constant demand for tribute, including sacrificial victims, saw the Spanish as liberators. The Tlaxcalans, for instance, became indispensable allies to Cortes, providing thousands of warriors who fought alongside the Spanish against their traditional enemies. The Spanish also capitalized on the widespread fear and resentment that the Aztec sacrificial system had inadvertently generated among their neighbors. The very practice designed to maintain cosmic order and prevent the end of the world inadvertently created divisions and enemies that the Aztecs could not overcome when faced with an external threat. The siege of Tenochtitlan in 1521 was not just a military confrontation, it was a cataclysmic collision of two entirely different worlds, two opposing cosmic views. The Spanish, driven by their unwavering belief in their divine mission, systematically dismantled the Aztec religious and political structures. The Templo Mayor was eventually destroyed, its stones used to build a new Christian cathedral, symbolizing the triumph of one faith over another, one world view over another. With the fall of Tenochtitlan and the ultimate conquest of the empire, the sun rituals, once the very pulse of Aztec society, were brutally suppressed. The Spanish forbade human sacrifice, destroyed temples, and imposed Christianity, seeking to erase any remnants of the old ways. Yet, the legacy of the Aztec sun rituals remains a complex and debated subject. For centuries, the Spanish narrative emphasizing the barbarity of the sacrifices dominated historical accounts. It justified the conquest and painted the Aztecs as savages. However, modern scholarship seeks to understand these practices within their own cultural and cosmological context, recognizing them not as wanton cruelty, but as deeply ingrained acts of profound religious devotion and perceived cosmic necessity. For the Aztecs, these rituals were a sacred duty, a reciprocal act of profound gratitude and responsibility towards the gods who had sacrificed themselves to create the world. They believed they were actively participating in the maintenance of the universe, ensuring the sun's journey and preventing the cataclysmic end of their world. The arrival of the Spanish, therefore, did not merely bring a new political order. It brought an end to an entire cosmological paradigm. The Aztec understanding of a fragile universe, sustained by the constant flow of precious water, vanished under the weight of foreign conquest and a radically different spiritual framework. The sun, once demanding the ultimate sacrifice, was now seen as a mere celestial body, governed by a distant, singular god. The memory of the Aztec sun rituals, however, persists, a haunting reminder of a civilization that believed it held the very fate of the cosmos in its hands, willing to pay the highest price to keep the world alive. Their story is a powerful testament to the diversity of human belief and the profound lengths to which people will go to make sense of their existence and secure the continuation of their world. This complex tapestry of faith, fear, and ultimate sacrifice continues to fascinate and challenge our understanding of ancient civilizations, inviting us to look beyond simplistic judgments and delve into the intricate depths of human purpose itself.